until the bullpen let it walk away just before the blast. Round 3, Mets Braves, next on Fox. The New York Mets, and now while Steve Lyons towels off for another season, he is trying to back up this left-hander, Al Leiter.
Several years ago, when we were doing the NLCS, Bob Brenly said, when you face Greg Maddux, you have to look away, away, away. It's like the song Dixie.
I thought that was you.
No, that was Bob Brenly. That was Bob Brenly's line. But with Al Leiter, you don't look away, 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 because he relies heavily on the bat-breaking cutter. That's right in on the hands of the right-handed batters. He uses a two-seamer and change to control the other side of the plate with an occasional breaking ball, just mixing that breaking ball in there to keep the right-handed batters honest. One note, left-handed batters this year, Robin Ventura is in the lineup, have had only 9 hits against Al Leiter, batting a paltry 127.
Well, one New Jersey native pays homage to another as they put a little Bruce Springsteen on the PA system here. This broadcast is also available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP button on your television. Al Leiter from Toms River, New Jersey, and the final and 10th show tonight for Springsteen in the city is indeed tonight. I'm sure that Mr. Leiter will head that way after this game. What will his mood be? Will he be happy or will he be frustrated? We're about to find out. Here's Kilvio Veras, first pitch on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Strike one.
A great pitching matchup today, Joe. And as you see, Veras, that is on the first pitch, that cutter inside, and he hammers it off his left ankle. Great pitching matchup, but great hitters on both sides also. 5 300 hitters for the Braves, 5 for the Mets. And that's that cutter. It looked like off the left side of his shin, or the inside part of his shin, and that will bark for a while. Wow.
While they check out the left leg of Kilvio Veras, we'll remind you about the significance of this series. One thing we didn't show you. Coming into today's game, the Mets sport a record of 45-32, only one game out on the loss side. With the Braves 48-31 in the standings, only 2 games separating these two clubs. Two teams that have had a fierce rivalry over the last couple of years, and to be honest, the Mets have not performed well when playing head-to-head with the Atlanta Braves. In fact, the Braves 19-7 in the last 26 regular season games between these two. Some of the names and faces have changed, but the results have not over the past couple of seasons. Last night, a big victory for the Mets to pull them within 2 games of the Braves. Now the second pitch of the day. Why not go right back in there? 1 ball, 1 strike.
About 70% of the pitches that Al Leiter throws will be inside to right-handed batters.
So it's nice to have a guy like Ventura over at third base, even with a bag at the moment, and toward him, but foul, strike 2.
When Steve Carlton had that devastating slider of his for so many years with the Philadelphia Phillies, he had Mike Schmidt as the third baseman. Schmidt could play deep. He had a powerful arm. Same with Robin Ventura here with the Mets.
Crowd into it already. 1-2 pitch. Checked his swing 2-2, and Bruce Fremming, who was the home plate umpire, says he didn't swing and doesn't bother to appeal. 2 balls, 2 strikes. There are the rest of them. Dale Scott, Marvin Hudson, Gary Cedarstrom. How about a 2-2? And Veras now in that battle mode against Al Leiter. Kilvio Veras having a strong first season with the Braves. Hit only .280 last year. Up over 300 right now, and maybe the most important stat, he stole 30 bases all of last season. He's 4th in the league with 22 at the moment. 2-2. Goodbye.
So what does Veras try to do? He tries to speed up the bat head and comes up empty. That cut slider, cut fastball down and in. It's rarely a strike. You may say, well, why don't you take often. It's pretty good policy, as Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, knows, if the right-handers take early in the count against Leiter.
Here is Andrew Jones. Takes a pitch up and away. Andrew is all of 23 years old. That's hard to remember every time you see these guys, and you see him in particular. He gets better and better at the plate and in the outfield. One of the youngest ever to get to the 100 home run plateau. He's on a list with guys like Ott, Canigliaro, Matthews, Alex Rodriguez, the last to do it, prior to Andrew Jones doing it. 23 years, 63 days. The 1-1. Strike two. This is a nice group.
Mel Ott of Giant fame. Eddie Matthews, a great third baseman for the Milwaukee Braves and the Atlanta Braves.
This crowd wants another strikeout. Oh, they almost got it. A little inside, 2-2. Braves fans watching back in Atlanta, happy to see that guy on deck.
You can pull the string in different ways. You can change your pace, or you can go to another side of the plate. Outside part of the plate gets Andrew Jones. He had come in. Now watch Jones reach. That's a swing, looking for the fastball in, but getting it away.
Well, here is Chipper Jones. Proud father of Larry Wayne Jones III. And it's almost like these Mets fans have to remind themselves that they're supposed to dislike others on that list with John Ron. Oh yeah, we don't like Chipper Jones. Larry. Oh yeah, we don't like Bobby Bonilla. Bobby. 1 ball, no strikes, and now 1-1. There you go. Some haven't forgotten, although Mr. Bonilla, I think they forgot that he was part of this Atlanta team in the year 2000. He's in the lineup today and was here last night, starting at third. He's in left today. The 1-1. Why do they not like him here? Well, outside of some of the things he said toward the tail end of last season, look what he's done on the field, and we say since 1999, because it includes Thursday's game. A .417 average, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he's slugging near .980.
One of the big reasons last year that the Braves won 9 of 12 during the regular season against the Mets.
And it's also one of the big reasons why Chipper Jones was the MVP in the National League.
That's correct.
Put on that kind of a show in front of the New York media. They don't forget. 3 balls and a strike on Chipper. So now Leiter. There's part of that media. Photography part. Here's the 3-1 with 2 out, nobody on. That should be handled. That's Peyton. And that's a perfect first for Al Leiter. At second base, Mike Piazza. He's driven in at least 1 run in 13 consecutive games. Robin Ventura is at third. Todd Zeile at first. Jay Payton at center. Benny Agbayani's in left field with Al Leiter pitching and batting ninth. Just 2 for 31 at the plate this season. What does the defense for the Atlanta Braves look like? Here's how it looks. Bonilla, Andrew Jones, and Brian Jordan in the outfield. Greg Maddux, 10 consecutive Gold Glove awards right in the middle of it all. With Jones, Furcal, Barris, and Galarraga on the infield. Lunar catches Greg Maddux, and here's more on Greg from my friend Tim.
Well, after blowing a 7-run lead last night, the Atlanta Braves know that they could not have a better guy on the mound than this guy right here. 9-2 on the year. He has had a rough June as Mora takes a fastball inside. But April and May, he was 7-1. Maddux 2-1 in June.
Mora has given the Mets a lift offensively. The jury is, I don't even think they've begun deliberating on whether he can handle the job day after day in tight games down the stretch. Hopefully for the Mets in the postseason. Defensively, it's short. Time will tell. But at the plate, what a lift he's been. The 2-0. 3 balls, no strikes from Greg Maddux. How rare is this? 3-0 to the leadoff hitter Mora. Just threw that question. I really don't know the answer to the question. It is rare. 3-1, the old automatic on 3-0.
It's rare to see Maddux fall behind any hitter, but particularly the leadoff batter.
Thank you for backing me up. 3 balls and a strike. Melvin Mora. Full count. There aren't many 3-0, 3-1 pitches from the hand of Greg Maddux that end up over the heart of the plate belt high either. He just hit the outside corner knee high, and now the 3-2. And a check swing. This is why he's won 10 consecutive Gold Glove awards. He is automatic on the mound, and Mora grounds out. Might have chased ball 4. Melvin's gone, 1 away.
I think he did. He tried to hold his swing. That ball tailing inside. There's no pitcher in baseball who can get you out in more ways than Greg Maddux. The check swing by Mora. It was ball 4. Nice play by Maddux to record the first out.
But you could go an entire game without seeing Maddux fall behind a hitter 3-0 and make a mistake on 3-2. May have gotten away with it, but for a guy who was suffering from severe flu-like symptoms just 2 days ago, you have to bring up the question here early what his stamina will be as the Braves work in this game with a short bullpen. That's a good start for the Mets. It's fair down the line and at least a double for Bell. Bonilla tiptoes down there and gets it back in. A 1-out double for Dereck Bell. The bullpen is in shambles right now for the Atlanta Braves after the last couple of games, and especially last night's debacle. On top of that, John Rocker is iffy with a callus on his thumb.
Baseball's a strange game sometimes. Maddux gets his ground ball, but it's a high chopper over the head of Chipper Jones. An easy double for Bell. 20th double on the year for Dereck.
What that means is not only does Alfonso bat, he's driven in 54, but it also means that Piazza will get a shot at the Braves and possibly another RBI or 2 here in the first inning. Maddux falls behind.
Dereck Bell, more than any other Met, loves to steal third base regardless of how many outs there are. With 1 out, it's a good time to do it. That's the best time to try to steal third base.
Up the middle to his left for Cone. He's committed 14 errors but handled a tricky hop there, and here comes last night's hero Mike Piazza.
Number 38, Mike Piazza.
And here is an RBI situation for Piazza and the Mets. Runner at third, 2 out, no score in the first. Strike to the surprise of Piazza last night to cap a 10-run 8th inning.
Most balls hit that hard. Hook foul. That ball was hit so hard it didn't have time to hook.
Think that was intentional?
Yes, I do.
It's got to be 100% for Maddux.
Yep. Oh, you got to do that. You got to protect the outside part of the plate. You can see Lunar sitting inside. And Greg Maddux knocking Piazza back off the plate.
Here's another prediction. That will not scare Mike Piazza. Back on the inside corner in the count 1-2.
It is remarkable the numbers that Mike Piazza continues to put up. With all of the bumps and bruises and foul tips, runners sliding into him, collisions at home plate, concussions.
for this crowd. 2 runs. There's that pitch low and away, and hats off to Lunar, the catcher, who just saved a run.
I think because of the way Piazza went after that pitch, it was a rare curveball from Maddux. Usually the breaking ball's a slider. This ball dipping low, and Piazza came very close to swinging at that ball. He may see that pitch again.
I just got a quick look at it, but did you see how late during that motion Maddux went to the curveball grip? Looked like he had all 4 fingers on the ball, and when he was bringing the glove back, then he went to the curveball. And it'll stay 2-2. Greg Maddux doesn't leave a lot to chance. He lives in Las Vegas. He's a phenomenal card player. Talk to teammates of his, whatever team he has been with, they'll tell you play cards with him. He toys with you, and he knows what you've got in your hand at the end of the deck.
His dad was a professional poker dealer in Vegas for years. He's retired now.
So along those lines, he's not a huge fan of catcher cam, and I'm sure won't be a huge fan of us looking into his glove here on a 2-2 pitch. But what the heck? Looks like a changeup. On 2-2. It is. It gets away. Takes a good play from Lunar. Safe, and the Mets take the lead. Like the final scene from Major League, the Mets catcher chugging down the first baseline to score a run.
This is the first wild pitch by Maddux all year. It squirts away from Lunar off to his left. It'll be a strikeout and a wild pitch. Lunar going toward the dugout. No chance to get Bell, and the throw to first base awfully close. But he was safe. Mets scored 10 runs the last time they hit last night, and have continued.
And so is Dereck Bell, now scoring a run in his 11th straight game. He continues to add to his team record as Ventura pops up to Furcal. The inning is over. Dereck Bell, a 1-out chopper, and went over the head of the third baseman Jones down the line for a double. Went to third and the ground out by Alfonso, and scores on a wild pitch. Greg on the list would be this from Greg Maddux.
What a catcher tries to do is soften the blow of the ball from the ground to the chest protector. It appeared this ball may have hit the edge of the plate and bounced up farther than Lunar was expecting, and that's why the ball bounded away so far. And Piazza was safe at second base.
So again, the first wild pitch of the year for Maddux brings in the first run of the afternoon. 1-0 Mets, and here's Galarraga, the 1-0. 2 balls, no strikes, and Leiter frustrated with not getting a strike on either of those 2 deliveries to Galarraga, hitting .305.
Shook off 4 times before this pitch.
3-0.
See if Bobby Cox turns Galarraga loose right here. Good time to do it. Look for one pitch in one area, down and in.
Not close, and a walk on 4 in a row out of the strike zone from Al Leiter. That'll bring in Brian Jordan. You know, on a day-by-day basis, Bobby Cox gets a lot of grief from umpires around Major League Baseball, and usually leads the world in ejections from games. But from a day-to-day standpoint, there's not much that bothers Bobby Cox. He has that ability to put frustrating losses or odd situations behind him, and what an odd year it's been. That might be 2. Ball to Alfonso on to Zia. 2 gone. In other words, the steadying influence, sorry, Timmy, that Bobby Cox has on this team is one of the vital ingredients to their success.
No question about that. There are 2 schools of thought after a pitcher throws 4 straight balls to open an inning. Some batting instructors say you ought to take until he throws a strike. The other side of the coin is the pitcher is so cognizant of the middle of the plate, it's a good time to swing the bat. And that's what Jordan was thinking.
Here's Bobby Bonilla, who, if you couldn't read the name on the back of his uniform jersey, if you were in the upper deck and you saw the body of Bobby Bonilla now, it would take some convincing from whoever is seated around you that this is the same guy who hit 160 last year for the Mets. He's lost 35, 40 pounds, somewhere in there, or at least has rearranged some of that weight. And as he heads into his free agent year, what is his first year with the Braves, he is in much better shape than he has been the last couple of seasons.
Certainly a bargain for the Braves, too. The Braves are only paying Bobby the minimum of $200,000, and the Mets are paying him almost $6 million.
The 2-1. 3 balls and a strike. Well, it was a day-to-day saga, soap opera with Bobby Bonilla here last year and his relationship with Bobby Valentine in the front office. It's a rocket foul, 3-2. Last year in game 2, a 4-3 Atlanta win. Smoltz comes out of the bullpen and gets Bobby Bonilla for the final out. And Jim Gray was nearby. 3 balls, 2 strikes with 2 out, nobody on. Just a little low, a 2-out walk. Second walk of the inning.
You
can see Leiter's pattern thus far, and that's vintage Al Leiter. You try to establish the fastball inside, and then if he goes to 3-2 or with 2 strikes, then he goes away, and not until.
Rafael Furcal, the 19-year-old with an asterisk, stands in. 2 out, a runner at first. There is some question as to what his true age is. He claims 19. His agent claims 19. And if I were him, I would claim I was 19. Looks like he's 15. The 0-1 pitch, strike 2. He can flat out fly.
Major League pension can be drawn at age 45. So if I were Furcal, I'd be 19 until I was about 42, and then I'd be 45.
Oh, that old joke? You guys believe that? 1-2. Around the time that there was a discrepancy about his age, he got into some trouble with the law down in Atlanta. The 1-2 pitch. He's gone. We'll talk about that next time he comes up. Maybe. As it is, 2 walks. Welcome back to Shea Stadium as this game gets into the bottom of the 2nd inning. Yes, it is DiGiorno Mets comic book day. And what has to be construed as the grandest of all coincidences. It's comic book day here at Shea Stadium with the Braves in town. A defensive change for the Atlanta Braves as Keith Lockhart is taken over at second base, meaning that Wilton Veras, who fouled that pitch off his left leg in his first at bat, his only at bat, cannot continue. So that's a big weapon that's lost for the rest of the day to Atlanta. Zeal took a strike, now another. It's 0-2. Todd Zeal, who rarely swings at the first pitch, now finds himself in the hole. 0-2. Now 1-2. Zeal, a solid year, 303 in his first year with the Mets, his 8th organization since coming up with the Cardinals in '89. That's on the outside corner. Zeal's gone, and that's strikeout number 2 for Maddux. Okay, so it is comic book day. There's the cover. The amazing Mets take the A train. It's about the 7 train, and Larson is Vane, this villain, is going to take over the 7 train, which is the train that makes a stop. This is the Jim Carrey influence as he comic book. Believe me, there's plenty more where that came from, says Mike Piazza. Feel like Fiorello LaGuardia reading to the kids on Sundays during the newspaper strike. Here's a fly ball into deep right center. Jones plays a shallow center, but goes back as well as anybody, if not better than anybody. 2 up, 2 down. And we'll continue to check in with Larcenous Vein. That's the name of the villain in the comic book. And the thing is, this villain is purple, trying to take over the 7 train. John Rocker is here. One of the comments that he made, Jeff Pearlman of Sports Illustrated, had to do with somebody with purple hair. Now, I am no Oliver Stone, unlike you.
No conspiracy theories
but
here.
You have to smell a rat here somewhere.
It's probably just coincidence.
Just coincidence that they dream up this comic book day and bring it out on a Saturday afternoon for the kids.
It's not coincidence.
No, there's no way. 1 ball, no strikes on Agbayani. Now 2-0. Base is empty with 2 outs. Zeal struck out. Payton flied out. And Agbayani hitting .298. 2-1.
What I loved about that little segment is you see Steve Phillips, the general manager of the Mets,
with his summer cut.
Yeah. That little segment bringing back Duke Ellington. Take the A train. Nobody could do songs like that better than the Duke.
We'll take your word for it. That is, there were a couple of versions. We have another version that we can play.
That's correct.
Maybe we'll do that the next time we go through.
We could do that in round 6.
That is hammered. Forget it. Agbayani, goodbye. 2-0 Mets.
Dangerous area to any hitter is a ball down and in. And that ball down around the shoot tops and off the plate, but not for long. Look in this area right in here. Wasn't as far inside as I thought. Boy, was that ball crushed.
1 ball, 1 strike now on Leiter. I mean, way out of here toward the back of that heavily protected bullpen here at Shea Stadium. Leiter tries to dump one into left, and he's done it in front of Bonilla, just his 3rd hit of the year. That, by the way, was the 11th home run allowed by Greg Maddux this season. Should have counted for 2 as was hit so far. And now Leiter is on with a 2-out hit.
Only the 3rd hit of the season for Al Leiter. Wow, helping his own cause, perhaps.
Well, one thing you get with Mora is a guy who can pound the ball out of the park. He's hit 5 home runs. And to compare what he's done with the bat in his hands to what Ordonez was doing, well, it's not even fair. 1 on, 2 out. Ball 1. Ordonez had 5 extra base hits in 45 games. Mora in 57 games has 14 extra base hits. Ordonez was hitting .188. Mora came in at .290. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Here's a guy, Melvin Mora, 2 years ago, playing in Taiwan, off the mainland China, of course. And one of the reasons that he left Taiwan was because of the rampant gambling on the island.
That's fair. Down the left field line, and Leiter has to run. Headed for 3rd as Bonilla gets to it. It's a double, and it's 2nd and 3rd, 2 out. 15 extra base hits now from Mora in 58 games, including this double.
No gamble right here. This ball between Chipper Jones and the line. Similar to the pitch where Dereck Bell doubled down the line. But talking about Melvin Mora, he said they treat baseball on the island of Taiwan like jai is treated in this country. And because of that, he didn't like the circumstances surrounding the game, so he left and ended up at Port St. Lucie about 6 months later. And here he is in the big leagues. Great story.
Second and third, 2 out. Dereck Bell a chance to add to the Mets 2-0 second inning lead. Ball high and tight. Al Leiter, who had left knee surgery last October on the patella tendon, doesn't run well, as that replay would show you. And I think anybody else on that double down the line with Bonilla digging it out scores, but not Leiter.
Right.
So as it is, it takes another hit, and it's up to Bell. Started out this season, nobody could get him out. Then he couldn't get a hit. Now he's back the other way, hitting .307. And it's down the left field line and fair. 2 runs will score. 4-0 Mets on another double by New York.
This is a carryover from last night's 10-run 8th inning. What a world of confidence it gives you to come back against any ball club, and when you do it against a formidable pitching staff like the Atlanta Braves. Particularly, as you mentioned earlier, the way the Braves manhandled the Mets last year.
So a 4-0 lead with Alfonso at the plate, who took a strike. Like the New York Mets and their fans did a year ago, Tim, circling that date in early June with the 3 firings of the coaches for Bobby Valentine, saying it was at this point that the team took off, and they played fantastic baseball over the next 45 games. And they circle that date and they say this was the jumping off point. I think Mets fans and the Mets themselves will look back to last night's game in the 8th inning as they continue to pound the Braves pitching. It doesn't matter who's out there. Another hit, another run. It's 5-0 New York. Visit from Leo Mazzoni out to talk to Greg Maddux. Well, the Mets were down last night, Tim, and the count had reached 8. 2 outs, and they came off the deck to KO the Atlanta Braves. And see what they did in that 8th inning. 13 batters, 6 hits, 3 bases loaded walks. The Piazza home run to cap the inning. 9 of the 10 runs scored with 2 outs. The 10-run inning ties a team record. It was an amazing 15-20 minutes last night that might very well erase all of that frustration that the Mets have felt against the Braves the last 2 seasons. And here they are, up 5-0 over the Braves today with Greg Maddux on the mound.
It is rare, and you don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the year, but it's rare that a team can point back to 1 game in a season and say this is why we're here today in first place in September, is because of that 1 game.
That's hammered into left center field. Did he get enough? At the track, at the wall, another. Piazza deep, and it's 7-0. 7 years, $91 million, and worth every penny. Ventura takes a ball.
RBIs now for Mike in 14 straight games.
Maddux trying to drive Piazza off the plate in that at bat in the first inning. He eventually struck him out, but the pitch got away from Lunar to score a run. This time up, hanging on the plate, driving it out of here yet again. And now Maddux falls behind 2-1 on Ventura.
Mike Piazza's first at bat. You may remember the brushback pitch by Maddux. Well, didn't work. You said at the time you didn't think it'd intimidate Piazza, and it didn't.
Now a full count on Ventura.
Here's the brushback we were talking about. That was in his first at bat. Now Mike did strike out in that at bat.
He's going so well, he strikes out, and that score a run.
Yeah. Well, the key at bat in this inning was the single by Al Leiter. If Maddux gets Al Leiter out, and you start the third, no worse off than 2-0. So Al Leiter did indeed help himself with that base hit.
Now a walk to Ventura. And again, that Atlanta bullpen is just worn out. First walk handed out by Maddux, and he may be worn out battling the flu 2 days ago. Bruce Chen is getting ready for the Braves out in their bullpen. Maddux just flat out does not have it here today. Zeal now, his second at bat of the inning. He grounds to third. Jones has to go the long way, and the good footwork of Galarraga gets the out. What an inning. What a team. On comic book day. Hey, save some of that for the game, Mike. Oh, I got plenty left. He saved it. He blasted Maddux. Back after this from your local Fox station. The Braves have been handed a couple of walks, but a double play ball mixed in off the bat of Jordan. Leiter's faced only one over the minimum, and here's Lunar, and there's strike one. New York Mets are 13-2 in games that Al Leiter starts this season. Maddux waits on deck, the 0-1.
Greg, you serious?
Chen continues to get loose out in the bullpen, so lead you to believe that Maddux isn't long for this game. Strike two on Lunar.
Usually when a pitcher continues to throw early in the game, even when his team is hitting, that means that he will be in the game in the third inning. Greg Maddux, a pretty good hitting pitcher, so I don't think Bobby Cox will waste a pinch hitter here, but still may remove Greg for the bottom of the third inning.
One ball, two strikes. Now 2-2 from Leiter. We came in again chirping about a pitching matchup, as we did back in Atlanta when the Yankees were there. It was Clemens against Maddux. Clemens coming off that duel with Pedro Martinez, and it was anything but. Lunar stays up there, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Maddux was gone after 5 2/3, 7 runs, 7 hits that day. Clemens finished after 5, 6 runs on 6 hits. Here's Maddux again. Saturday afternoon game, getting pounded by a New York team. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Lunar.
Roger Clemens has since gone on the disabled list with a pulled right groin. And he'll come off that list to start for the Yankees in Tampa Bay tomorrow.
Off the hands to the second baseman, Alfonso. 1 away. That'll bring in Maddux. Why don't we update the All-Star balloting, the Pepsi All-Star ballot update? And this is as of this past Monday. The new update will come out this Monday. Ivan Rodriguez still the leading vote getter. I'll show you the National League in a second, and you can cross out one name when we show it to you. And this is still the AL with Ripken, Rodriguez, Alomar, and Giambi on the infield. Again, Giambi and Dye, 2 small market teams. Nice to see their names on that update because they're very deserving. 1 ball, 1 strike on Maddux, a 179 hitter, 7 out of 39. That's off the plate from Mora. It's a true hop, 2 out. Now in the National League, Tim, get your little telestrator pen out. All right. Cross out Mr. Biggio.
Tell you what, I've always wanted to use this box so you can cross him out and put in Edgardo Alfonso, who is 4,000 votes ahead of Biggio as we speak. Now the National League, with a ton of second base, almost every ball club has a good second baseman, and about 9 or 10 teams are loaded with all-star caliber second baseman. If you combine the second baseman in the National League and the shortstops in the American League, you'd have some middle.
That's why Bobby Cox scored some points around here. Lockhart pops it up, and a long run for Piazza or Ventura. Piazza just moved part of the stadium. But when you look at some of these names, Bobby Cox has to choose outside of the voted in starter. Bobby made some points when he said, well, I could consider Alfonso for other positions. He could play short for him in the All-Star game. He could play third. He could play anywhere, really. The same for Vidro, who's also very deserving for Montreal. Here's the 0-2 to Lockhart. Lockhart is first at bat after Veras left. Fouled a pitch off his left leg and couldn't continue. Leo Mazzoni talking to Maddux and on the phone to the bullpen. Lockhart is gone. Strikeout number 4 for Leiter. He starts to roll. The Mets continue their
his career.
Well, he's superstitious like every other baseball player. He's not going to want to see us ever again. The last 3 innings, going back to last night, 481 average for the Mets. The 17 runs scored. And something that you pointed out between innings, Tim, and that is the damage being done by the Mets with 2 out.
The last 16 runs that have been scored by the Mets, last night's 8, and the first and second today, have been with 2 outs. As you look at the numbers on Bruce Chen, left-hander 4-0 on the year. I think this is where the Mets have improved dramatically too. Jay Payton and Benny Agbayani, they have had terrific Junes and added much more balance to their lineup.
Last night it was Wengert starting that ill-fated 8th inning for the Atlanta Braves. And as the inning wore on, I'm sure everybody wondering why John Rocker didn't come in. Keith Olbermann, Steve Lyons talking about that. You heard from John as well as a fly ball heads into center. Finish that story in a moment. Right now, a game break. Let's go to Keith Olbermann in the Fox Television Center.
Joe and Comiskey, it's not the 1946 World Series, just an incredible simulation. 2 out, Mark Johnson, the catcher at first, breaking with the pitch. Ray Durham slasher to right, and Jeff Fry at second pulled something of a Johnny Pesky. He fiddled while Johnson burns home. It is now 2-0 White Sox in the 4th. Catcher scores from the first, Joe.
Maybe shades of Enos Slaughter as well.
Romping home on a double by Harry Walker in the left center field at Old Sportsman's Park in St. Louis. Grandin Dodier.
Here's a ball to Agbayani. Hit a line drive home run that was measured 386 feet. As he goes into right center, and Andrew Jones is over to get it. There's John Rocker in the bullpen for the Atlanta Braves. So many things to talk about, but we started to talk about last night. It would have been a perfect time to bring him in if you were confident that he could put the troubles aside like he did in the first game of this series, a 1-2-3-8 against big hitters for the Mets. Last night would have been a perfect time to bring him back, but because he had that ripped callus in his pitching thumb, he was unavailable. Read where Bruce Chen, who's on the mound now, is being saved for extra innings if the game got to that point. You go back to Wengert, who started the inning. With all of these teams scoring so many runs and so many runs late, you see fewer and fewer managers who are willing to throw a quote-unquote mop-up guy out there.
Right.
No matter how big the lead is.
That's true.
Because nothing is safe for the world through subliminal messages put out in his press notes. But as it stands, earlier in the comic book, here come the amazing Mets to the rescue. John Franco on your left, obviously Piazza in the middle. Todd Zeal, who prior to moving out of the city, there he is. Jay Horowitz.
There's the evil genius right there, Jay Horowitz.
That poor guy. How about the job he does here?
Oh, terrific.
You know what he does? He does his job as well as any PR director in the country. He's got 18 phones sitting in front of him, one a direct link to each newspaper and tabloid in the New York area. But he does it all, and he handles all the pressures being in New York and the problems that came up over the years with Gooden and Strawberry and everything else that happens. Bobby Valentine and the messes that seem to find him, or that he finds. And he does it all with a smile on his face, and he does it all in the right way. He's a good guy, and
really is.
Everybody enjoys being around. And there he is, his likeness. I don't know that whoever is the illustrator in that comic book is a big fan of Jay's or not, but that wasn't exactly a flattering rendition of Jay Horowitz. 2 balls, 2 strikes. But again, we're led to believe that's only a coincidence that came out during this Braves series. Andrew Jones struck out his first time. Andrew Jones strikes out his second time. And that's 5 in the game for Al Leiter.
Andrew Jones striking out on a fastball away his first time up, and a fastball away his second time up.
Here's Chipper Jones. Fly to center his first time up. And a base hit for Chipper through the left side. Today's free internet.com trivia question. Who is the only Mets second baseman to be named to the All-Star team? Internet Bob watching from behind home plate, and Rick Reed ducking in the dugout. Here is our free internet.com trivia question.
Rick Reed breaking his left wrist on Thursday night. You can see the backdrop there. The pitcher does not have a. Turk Window was talking about it today, saying hitters have a good backdrop out of which to hit, but pitchers on balls coming back, they have to get balls out of that blue background, or what do they call it, number 4 gray color.
I don't really
think
recall.
it's number 4 gray was up there, and it's been approved by Major League Baseball.
That's up the middle. Great try, and not in time, as Alfonso did all he could. Jones beat the little flip from Edgardo, and it's 2 on 1 out.
How many times do you see a second baseman go on the other side of second base to backhand a ball? Alfonso actually ends up about 3 feet to the left side of second. The reverse pivot to try to get Jones, but Chipper is in there easily. And Alfonso showing why Bobby Cox said, well, I could play him at second, short, or third in the All-Star game. Some player.
Al Leiter, one of the more animated pitchers on the mound.
Yeah.
Exerts as much energy after the pitch leaves his hand, watching the subsequent plays as he does bringing the pitch to the plate. Here's Jordan now with 2 on 1 out, and he can certainly bring the Braves back into this game, down 7-0 in the 4th inning. a ball from Leiter.
Andrew Jones on Thursday night, a rocket back to the mound. It actually hit the heel of Rick Reed's left hand. You can see him wince right there, very angry. Fortunately, it was not his right hand. He's expected to miss about 3 weeks with that broken left hand. Actually, broken left wrist, a bone in his left wrist.
So that then presents problems for the Mets pitching staff. Who's going to end up in his spot in the rotation? Do they bring Pat Mahomes out of the bullpen and give him a chance? Says he's more willing to accept that role in the rotation now. Or do they call up somebody from the AAA level?
Tomorrow it'll be Tommy Glavine for the Braves against Glendon Rush. The left-hander's done a fine job for the Mets.
Now 2-2 as Leiter pulled the string on him on Jordan. 2 on, 1 out.
That's a two-seam fastball that sinks away from the right-hander, and it's a good complement to that cut fastball that goes inside. Jordan may see that right here. Leiter shaking off Piazza.
The 2-2 didn't catch the outside corner. Full count. Bobby Bonilla waits to hit next.
Sure, Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, is saying, Al, you have a 7-run lead. No sense worrying about the runner at second base right now. Get the hitter.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 1 out. That's foul. Oh my God. It was the groans of those fans reaching over for that foul ball down the left side with our tarp mic.
Either that or a comic book hero coming to life.
That kid didn't make that noise. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 1 out. Jordan pops it foul.
Folks at home may be saying, well, why don't you send the runners in a situation like this? It's 3-2, it's 1 out. If you're trailing by 2 runs, it's worth the chance. Bobby Cox certainly knows that. But by 7, you get to strike him out, throw him out. It's the first time you've mounted a threat. You're almost forced to play a base-to-base type of offense. He doesn't want to do that, but he can't change the 7-0 score right now.
Jordan Wentz struck him out, number 6.
As a hitter, you do not have a lot of time to determine whether it's a strike or not. Ball in the dirt. It would have been ball 4, but Jordan goes too far. Almost all swinging strikeouts are balls out of the strike zone anyway. You rarely see a major league hitter swinging a fastball right down the pipe on the 3rd strike.
Bonilla into left field, a base hit. Now they will bring Chipper Jones to the plate. Agbayani's throw too late, and it's 7-1. So Bobby Bonilla, who drove in 18 runs all of last season with the Mets, knocks in his 17th, and this is first season with the Braves.
Well, it's a bad base running play by Bonilla. It's bad throwing by Agbayani. You have a 7-run lead. The ball should go to 3rd base. On the play, Galarraga goes to 3rd, but Bonilla becomes a spectator, ends up at 1st base. He's got to be standing on 2nd base right now. You see the lead runner Galarraga going to 3rd. And Bonilla, see how high that ball is? The fact that he missed the cutoff man allows you to walk into 2nd base. So a bad play by Agbayani and a poor play by Bonilla not to take advantage of it.
And now for Kyle with runners on at 1st and 3rd, 2 out. A 6-run Mets lead. Bonilla still at 1st. Zeal having to play in, and for Kyle, chops one. This is going to be tough. Alfonso, good play. So sure-handed, he makes even a play like that with the speed of Furcal look routine. And in the end, the Braves get only one. 1 run on 3 hits. Strand a couple of left 3 and into the bottom of the 4th inning. 7-1 Mets. Calf in that game. So while he's out recuperating with a broken wrist, he'll take it easy running wise and try to have that calf get back up to speed. Here's Dereck Bell. Ball 1 to Dereck. 1 out, nobody on. Up there hammering away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Alfonso next. Play Bell to hit the other way in the outfield. And it's now 1-2.
You can see with Dereck Bell, he's not a controlled batsman or swinger like Robin Ventura or Todd Zeile. He has a much longer swing. When you think of Zeile, it's short and quick. Dereck Bell, it's that long trigger. He takes the bat back a long way.
And that's into center. Jones went back, has to try to recover. It's up to Furcal, and he can't make the play. A bloop base hit for Dereck Bell. He's 3 for 3.
Two balls down the left field line for doubles, and this ball off the end of the bat, but that's an idea. There's not a lot of balance in Dereck Bell's swing. Look how unbalanced he is after swinging, almost on the insides of his feet. Furcal going back, I'm sure thinking Andrew Jones may be very near, couldn't come up with the ball.
On the outside corner to Alfonso. Mets came into this season and people thought they would take a step backward from where they were a year ago. They lost John Olerud. Didn't know how the team would respond. They in turn signed Todd Zeile. Alfonso didn't like that call. Zeile trying to learn first base with Keith Hernandez down during spring training at Port St. Lucie. And they stumbled a bit out of the gate. Boy, are they playing good baseball right now. Zeile is having a fantastic season. Up over 300 with his average. Right on pace for what he usually does in the RBI department as Alfonso flies to right. All of a sudden, last night didn't make it obvious. Today should. The Braves will have to fight to win their division, and here's a big reason why.
First time up, the brushback by Greg Maddux. Second time up, Mike Piazza with his 23rd home run of the year. Way ahead of last year's pace as far as RBIs are concerned. At 70 for the year. Last year he did not get number 68 until July 30th.
Here he skies one to center for Andrew Jones. And Bruce Chen is through 2 scoreless innings. Gives up a hit. Mets strand their second after 4 here at Shea. Beautiful day, all Mets 7-1. Live aerial shots of the game today. Monster.com helps you take charge of your career. Put yourself in the driver's seat today by building your online resume. Searching over 380,000 job postings. Monster.com for work, life, and possibilities. Well, the Mets are doing what they set out to do here this afternoon against Maddux with Leiter on the mound. Here's Lunar with Chen's spot to follow. And then back to the top, Keith Lockhart. A ball from Al Leiter. And you start to look around baseball and you start to see some interesting developments, and they have only continued to develop. Nothing's really changed over the past week since we last talked to you. You were in Chicago for the White Sox and Yankees, and there right now in the American League, 2 of the bigger stories. The White Sox with another lead, and they're doing it against the Boston Red Sox, who come into today's action down by 3.5 games in the AL East. Lunar strike 2. Small market, large market, small payroll, large payroll. Some things have been set on their ear so far this season.
The Seattle Mariners, arguably, as Lunar goes down on strikes, playing the best baseball of any team in either league. The Oakland Athletics, another small market team. The thing about Seattle, they get rid of Ken Griffey Jr. and the early part of the year, Lou Pinella's troops are playing about as well as they ever played at this particular time when Griffey was a part of the ball club.
And coincidence or not, Chen goes after one. The Reds aren't playing well with Griffey.
Yeah, right. They're 9 back of the Cardinals, 9.5 back.
They are under the 500 mark, 8.5 out. 2 games under 500. They beat Arizona last night. Cardinals coming back to defeat Houston. And so really from every division, Colorado has made a big resurgence, and Buddy Bell certainly has to be considered for manager of the year. Leiter, a nice play. Chen is gone. 2 up, 2 down.
Al Leiter, not a particularly good fielding pitcher, but he does a fine job right there. A comebacker. And he gets Chen easily. Colorado Rockies only 1 game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks now.
Surprising surges. The records in June. Look at the best teams in the major leagues. White Sox, A's, Mariners, Mets picked it up. And the Blue Jays, who now lead the American League East and have finally put a little daylight between themselves and the other 2, Boston and the Yankees. Yankees are playing average baseball
at best. At best.
I mean, they're an average team right now. Yeah. Now they are injured.
No, their pitching has just been decimated. Orlando Hernandez missed a start. Roger Clemens, we mentioned earlier, will be back tomorrow. David Cohn's 1-1 ball game.
Lockhart's gone. We'll continue the discussion in the bottom of the 5th inning as Leiter walks back to the dugout with 8 striking. Welcome back to Shea, who is the A&W fan cam found for us this afternoon. Why can't we be friends? By War. By the way, War is still available if you're looking for an after-dinner group. Seriously. Why can't we be friends? If the score stays the way it is right now and these games stay lopsided, everybody will get along just fine.
Who's going to be the band at your wedding reception? Oh, War. Perfect.
Ventura lines one into right. Jordan back to get it. 1 away, and Chen is doing exactly what the Braves needed him to do. They might not come back and win this game, but he's certainly trying to keep him in it. Still 7-1. Here's Zeal. 0 for 2. Zeal made 2 outs in that 6-run 2nd inning against Maddux. So he's 0 for 2 and he takes ball 1.
It was quite a ploy for Steve Phillips, the general manager of the Mets, to sign Todd Zeal. Johnny Oates told me earlier this year that the Texas Rangers thought Todd Zeal, that it was a sure thing that Todd would sign with the Rangers. And since he didn't, they have had all sorts of problems finding third baseman down in Dallas. Luis Alicea has played there the majority of the year, but not a run producer like Todd Zeal.
Mike Lamb has been there. 2 balls and a strike. Yeah, that's the thing about Zeal. He's bounced around. I mentioned 8th organization in his professional career, but he's had 4 straight seasons of 90 or more RBIs. And in 2 of those seasons, he was with more than 1 club, and one of them more than 2 clubs.
Yeah.
And I was in St. Louis when he came up from AAA Louisville, and all you heard in the St. Louis papers and with the St. Louis fans was that Zeal was going to be the next superstar, big league catcher. And he came up and had very solid major league seasons. But Joe Torre, who was the manager then, moved him over to third base, gave Tom Pagnozzi a chance to start behind the plate. Zeal continued to produce, but he never quite lived up to expectations. And the fans were awfully harsh on Zeal back in St. Louis, and he found himself traded to, of all clubs, the Cubs. The same day that Joe Torre was fired as manager of the Cardinals.
Joe Torre, the only major leaguer to ever play as many as 500 games at third, first, and catcher. And where has Todd Zeal gone? He's gone from behind the plate to third base, and now he's at first.
Payton grounds one up the middle. Another hit for Jay, who came in hitting .304. Finally, and mainly thanks to clean bill of health, Jay Payton is living up to expectations when he was selected in the first round by the Mets.
Off the campus of Georgia Tech, Jay Payton rooming with Nomar Garciaparra there. He told us story several weeks ago. Jay Payton was Garciaparra's guest when the All-Stars toured Japan a couple of years ago. Nomar picked up the tab, took his old buddy with him.
Agbayani, a little fly ball as Jordan will come on, but give way to Lockhart, who had to go a long way to make the catch and end the inning. War take us out. It's been anything but. It's been a lopsided pasting today. And Glendon Rush will work in the 4-game finale tomorrow. As Andrew Jones takes a strike. And again, the Mets, if they win here today, will be even in the loss column with Atlanta. And they'll be 1 game out in the NL East. Strike 2. Andrew Jones today, a pair of strikeouts. Leiter trying to get him again. Now 2-2. Mets have been rumored to be interested to jump into that trade market. Whether it's for a shortstop like Bordick or Rich Aureli of the Giants, or if it's for another starter like Scott Erickson. Just became a 5-10 guy this past week. Many believe they will be active, and if they add another starter, if they add a glove to play short, in my opinion, there's nothing to keep this Mets team, which, by the way, I thought going into the season they had the best talent in all of baseball.
Very, very good ball club that Bobby Valentine has to manage this year.
There's nothing to keep them from their 3rd World Championship. Full count now on Andrew Jones.
I think their most pressing need right now, instead of a shortstop, another outfielder, Agbayani and Payton coming on, as a starting pitcher, particularly with Rick Reed on the shelf for 3 weeks to a month.
That's fine.
Starting pitching, however, during any season is the most difficult commodity to come up with. And an example over the last month, how many times have you heard the names Sammy Sosa, Juan Gonzalez, going to any number of clubs, including the Mets with Sosa, the Yankees, the Red Sox.
Jones' knees buckled on ball 4, a leadoff walk, and that's not what Leiter wanted to do, up by 6 in the 6th.
But you hear very, very few clubs willing to give away or trade their starting pitching to any other ball club. Kevin Apier going to Oakland last year in the trading deadlines, one name that comes to mind over the last several years. You just can't come up with a quality starter during the season. Off season, different story.
Chipper Jones, ball 1. Along those lines, the Yankees, and it's been interesting. George Steinbrenner, I'm sure along some lines, has been rebuffed the last 3 or 4 times that the Yankees have reportedly been in the trade market. With some of the names that he's wanted to get to make that big splash here in New York, like Gonzalez, like Sosa, they're not going to end up with either one of those two. They didn't trade Pettit when it seemed like George Steinbrenner was the only one that wanted to last year. They did trade David Wells, who became a friend of George Steinbrenner's prior to last season.
First pitcher to reach 13 wins this year, David Wells.
So he has listened to his baseball people. Mendoza, another name that's come up. He's staying with the Yankees, and I know both of us agree that he should. But he has listened to his baseball people this season and dating back to last season with Pettit and some of the others. And he has pretty much kept his fingerprints off. And that's great when you win 3 of 4 world championships. But with this team free falling toward the 500 mark, I don't know who's safe and who isn't over in that Yankee organization. But he has gone with the baseball people, and we'll see how it works out. I'm sure that's the way. As Jones gets some attention from Al Leiter.
During the offseason, the Yankees were very interested in Jim Edmonds, but the Cardinals pulled off that trade, and now Jim, the excellent center fielder for St. Louis.
See the struggles for the Yankees in the month of June, right at the top of that list. That was the other name. Edmonds, a guy who George Steinbrenner wanted to go get. Now, it would have probably cost them Mendoza and somebody else, and they just were not in a position to trade Ramiro Mendoza.
Nope. Ramiro Mendoza on the disabled list for the Yankees now. Meanwhile, the Braves are thinking, well, if Chipper Jones can get on there and Galarraga can pop one, we're right back in this ball game.
We're only in the 6th. It's a 6-run Mets lead. Jones, goodbye. Strikeout number 9 for Al Leiter.
Just a wicked cutter, not only going down but going in. And Chipper Jones swinging over it. For a guy like Al Leiter, it's not necessary as much as other pitchers to stay ahead of the batter. The reason for that is fastball moves all over the place, so he's tough to pick up. So when you talk about staying ahead in the count, a guy like Leiter, it's not as important for him as it is for most pitchers. Naturally, he'd like to do that. But if you could just go inside the brain of a hitter and realize how difficult it is to hit with the count 0-1, 1-2, 0-2. If you were a pitcher, you'd stay ahead more. That's what every pitching coach tries to get their pitchers to do. Stay ahead. You hear announcers talk about it all the time. And the reason they talk about it all the time is it's one of the most vital things in a pitcher-batter relationship.
That was interesting, Tim. That foul ball ended up in the glove of Todd Zeile, who wanted to throw it out of play. But Al Leiter was screaming at Zeile to listen to him. He wanted to get that ball back. He liked the way that ball felt.
Sure.
And he didn't want it to leave head out of play. Whether it was the laces or just the feel or the density or whatever, we now know there's a little more give and take in the specifications after that study in Costa Rica. Galarraga pops it up, and Mora goes back to get it. 2 out. So now I'm going to be singing that war song for the rest of the weekend.
Why can't we be friends?
Yeah. What if we have Lowrider also by War in our collection down there? Peter Salton's our audio guru. I bet he can dig it up. 1 on, 2 out. 6th inning of a 7-1 game.
It's a big gap in our music selections today. Take the A Train and Why Can't We Be Friends by War.
But we're only up to the 60s. These kids, they're listening to this Duke and this War and their MTV, and they're dancing, and all their dancing and MTV and kids. Jordan taps it foul, 1-1. It was the 7 train. Subway, Lowrider, War. Oh, yeah. Two strikes, 1 on, 2 out. 6th inning, 7-1, and Al Leiter trying to close down the 6th by getting Jordan. Down the right field line, slicing. Jordan doesn't run as it's fouled. saxophone part in this is the best part, without a doubt.
There it is.
Whatever that. I don't know if that's a saxophone or not.
Sounds like an alto sax.
It is now. War hasn't had this much attention in 30 years. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 on, 2 out, and time called. We're going to get through the whole song. Unfortunately, it's a great song. Oh, Brian, come on. Bail us out of this. Bill Webb directing this video. See Webby show up for the MTV Video Music Awards.
Have your choice here in this city. You can ride low in the subways or fly high at LaGuardia. About a half a mile from here.
2 balls, 2 strikes. We're going to owe War a lot of money.
I think the opposite might be true.
That's true. Wearing Fox hats at their next dinner engagement. Jordan down the left field line into the corner. Agbayani won't get there. Into second is Jones. They're going to bring him to the plate. It's a chance. Got it. Down 7-1. They send Andrew Jones to the plate, pleading with Bruce Fleming, saying that Piazza never tagged him. He might have a point, but down by 6, I don't know that you can take this risk.
Andrew Jones has to go to the inside. Not only is the ball outside, but the bat's in the way. And it looks like Piazza missed the tag. Mets got a break there.
Bonilla was in better position to call that play. On that play at the plate, Bruce Fleming, the home plate umpire, was out in front of the plate. I talked about Bonilla standing right there in between, basically in between our camera and home plate watching the play. Bruce Fleming was out in front of the plate, had a good look at it, and called Andrew Jones out, and here's the report.
It is an odd play. Bruce got it exactly right. Watch Mike Piazza tag Andrew Jones on where? The glove in his back pocket. The glove is part of the uniform, and that's the reason that Jones didn't feel the tag. He complains about the tag, but the tag was made in the little flimsy glove hanging out of his right pocket. And since that glove is part of the uniform, Bruce Fleming made the right call.
Now, if he saw that, he goes right into the Hall of Fame with Jocko Conley.
Right now.
Bobby Cox out to argue.
Bobby trying to protect Andrew Jones, I believe, right there. But you could see the tag made with Piazza's glove. Leiter very animated. Al Leiter in a good position to make that call, too. At least he thinks he is, or was.
He's back there screaming at the left fielder, Agbayani, and then Mora, the shortstop, and cut off man to throw the ball. Really, Al? You think we... Okay, we'll throw the ball. Al Leiter says throw the ball to the plate. They did, and here's the result. Let's see if he gets him on the glove. Awful close.
The way I saw it, looked like he tagged him right on the glove. And once again, since the glove is not onto the rear end, well, then Andrew couldn't feel the tag of Piazza.
Yeah, if that glove, that's considered part of your uniform, like you said. And if you have a glove hanging out and the pitch hits the glove,
sure,
you go down to first base.
That's right.
If your pocket, your pants pocket is hanging out and it gets hit by a pitch, you go down to first. 0-1 the count on Dereck Bell. You know, with the Atlanta Braves right now, their pitching situation, what Bruce Chen is doing is Walt Weiss is taking over in short for Call. Bruce Chen is giving the Braves, he's taking over in the 3rd inning as he works on his 4th shutout frame. Some really impressive work here this afternoon.
Eating up innings and allowing the bullpen to rest.
Mulholland has been in that rotation. Burkett, who they picked up, has been in that rotation. Chen is probably figuring this is, in a way, an audition to get into that rotation, if they're so inclined. Mulholland, who had made a couple of starts, or a start a couple of days prior to last night's 8th inning, is kind of the Mr. Everything on the staff for Bobby Cox and Leo Mazzoni. If you need to start, fine. If you need relief work, fine. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Dereck Bell.
Also, I think what the Braves are showing right now is how much they miss John Smoltz. When you lose a pitcher of Smoltz's category, and he's out for the year, you are losing a vital part of your ball club. Starting pitching being so valuable to a team, particularly the Atlanta Braves. 8 straight divisions have they won. And everything has been built around Glavine, Maddux, Smoltz, Millwood over the last 3 years. Kevin, the tough luck pitcher last night, did not get the win, but certainly deserved one, giving up 1 run in 7 innings.
Bell slams one into center, but after that high delivery, and back to get it is Andrew Jones. Bruce Chen has had a couple of chances. 7th inning now, a 7-1 game, and let's throw it back out to Steve Lyons. Steve?
All right, guys, unfortunately for this 4-game set here between 2 of the best teams in the National League, most of it started out as protection on the sideshow that is John Rocker. You can see the fence that they've built out here so that no fans can either see or throw things into the Brave bullpen. This guy right here won't even let me look over the fence to see who's warming up. There's also a canopy up here so you can't see those guys. You've even talking about the band war. These cops out here, 600 strong, have been trying to prevent one. Back to you guys.
All right, Steve, thank you. Here's Bonilla, foul out of play, and I think we all hope on either side of the fence and the media, whatever, that by the end of this weekend we can start to put some of this behind us, and you don't have to have 700 police officers at Shea Stadium the next time the Braves are here. You don't have to airlift John Rocker into the ballpark. We can close the book on it somewhat and move on. No balls, 2 strikes.
I think the Rocker apology on Thursday night that was aired on the Diamond Vision here at Shea Stadium helped that particular problem. And the Mets coming back last night. I think everybody's starting to think about baseball again, which is very healthy.
Yeah, you mentioned that during the pregame show, that in the end, what was talked about, what was written about, what was felt by these players and the fans at Shea Stadium was, we just saw a great game.
Yep.
Some might have come through the gates here expecting to lay it on John Rocker, but in the end they saw, at least those who stayed, saw a great game. A leadoff base hit for Bonilla. He's on to start the inning with Weiss coming up. Well, fittingly, tonight, see why the original is still the best, where TV meets the streets. Cops then help unmask the criminally obsessed. Stalkers beware on America's Most Wanted. It all starts tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, right here on Fox. So hats off to the police officers and others called upon to try to keep the order here at Shea Stadium and avoid trouble. Their presence has certainly been, while it's been talked about, written about, some have been critical of it. It has been critical to have them here, and a big reason why some ugly incident, I'm sure, hasn't happened. Don Wengert, who started that ill-fated 8th inning for the Braves last night, getting loose. A 1-1. 2-1. A lot of people also, Tim, and Tim, you spent a number of years here broadcasting for the Mets, coming through here as a player. Acknowledged, and rightfully so, how these Mets fans have reacted.
Chipper Jones was the first to say after the game on Thursday night, there was a tip of the cap by Chipper to the Mets fans here and how they handle themselves in such a first-class manner. And they did.
Here's the 2-2. Weiss is gone, and that's 10 strikeouts for Al Leiter. For a game break, back to Keith Olbermann at the Fox Television Center.
Joe, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune reporting the Twins and right-handed pitcher Brad Radke are close to a 4-year, $36 million contract extension. Might be completed by Monday. He'd be the highest paid player in Twins history, so don't look for him to be traded. And, Joe, you guys are playing great tunes. Can I request some Thunderclap Newman?
Whatever you want. We play the hits. 1 on, 1 out, 0-1 on Fernando Lunar. The 10 strikeouts, by the way, a season high. His career high is 15.
Struck out 15 Cubs on August 1st of last year.
Hard hit past Mora. 2 on, 1 out as Lunar gets his first hit of the day. Now it's time to pinch hit. And it'll be Trinidad Hubbard off the bench for Atlanta.
Number 27, Trinidad Hubbard.
That'll close the book on Bruce Chen. Threw 107 pitches and went 4 shutout innings. Picked it up in the 3rd. Struck out 5 along the way. And again, he did everything the Braves could have asked for. You ought to be proud of the work he did out of the Atlanta bullpen here this afternoon.
Trinidad Hubbard stepping up. Don Wengert will be the pitcher in the bottom of the 7th. You might be thinking, well, why not Javi Lopez in this situation? If you're a Braves fan, well, the Braves still trail by 6 with 7 outs left. That's why Bobby Cox has opted for Hubbard.
Some people may have wondered earlier when Maddux went to the plate and then was lifted for the new pitcher why, but 7-0 game in the 2nd inning.
Yeah.
He had the rough 2nd. Batting in the top of the 3rd. No reason to use a big bat off your bench. Braves hoping they get a chance to use some of those big bats. Like Javi Lopez, who's on that bench, and others, Joyner, Sanders. As this game wears on, Hubbard will have a lot to say about that. 2 on, 1 out. Now strike 2. It's Leiter who's up over the 110 pitch mark. So he is working out on the mound right now, and there's Wendell getting loose. We showed you out of the Mets bullpen. 2-2. One out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. 2 out. Nasty pitch down and in. There's strikeout number 11 for Al Leiter as he gets the pinch hitter Hubbard. Quite literally from a skybox seat, the Monster.com blimp is providing us with these live shots of the baseball talent on the field. Monster.com for work, life, possibilities. Here's Keith Lockhart. 3rd at bat. Struck out in his first 2 since taking over from Ferris. Strike 1.
Hitting against Al Leiter, if you're a left-handed batter, it's like continuing to try to catch up to that fastball that you never can catch up with. Keeps going away, away, away. It hits that front corner often. You just cannot keep the ball fair when you hit it hard.
1 ball, 1 strike.
You said earlier, left-handed batters now with the 2 strikeouts by Lockhart are 7 for, make that 9 for 73 on the year. It's about $120. Left-handers just do not handle Leiter at all.
Lockhart can reach, though. A big decision would follow. With a home run hitter, Andrew Jones up next.
You're right.
The right-hander Wendell in the bullpen, and Leiter over 110 pitches on the day. It's time for Bobby Valentine to make a decision, but that is if, only if, Lockhart can reach here with 2 out. 3-1. 2 out. Lockhart on 3-1. Full count. The runners will go. Lockhart at the plate because Gilby O'Veras was injured when he fouled that ball off his left foot or leg in that area. He couldn't continue.
First pitch of the ball game.
Runners will go on 3-2. And Lockhart spoiled it. You never know what a manager's hunch is going to be, but if you want to talk logically, with a right-hander Wendell getting loose, he's getting loose for a reason. Jones on deck, a right-hander with Chipper Jones, the switcher to the follow. You would have to think Leiter's coming out if he doesn't get Lockhart. The 3-2. He gets it. He adds to the team high for the year 2000 with his 12th strikeout of the day. Struck out the side. Time to stretch. 7-1 Mets.
What? No. Okay. Huh? Said he was trying to call. That phone. He said he was trying to call. The phone wasn't on the hook right. He's ready.
He was ready if needed. He wasn't needed. Al Leiter comes over, has his seat. He has struck out 12. Talk about a couple of big game pitchers coming into this game. Maddux, one of the best ever. And Leiter, what a job he has done for the Mets the last couple of years. Wengert takes over for Atlanta. You can go back to that one-game playoff the Mets had last year with the Cincinnati Reds to get into postseason. They handed the ball to Al Leiter, and he only went 9 innings and got the Mets into that series with Arizona. They plowed through the Diamondbacks and ended up losing in 6 games to these Atlanta Braves. Wengert on 1-2. 2-2.
And the Braves with a big game pitcher starting tomorrow. Tommy Glavine. Glendon Rush goes for the Mets. We mentioned it earlier. Now Al Leiter shaking hands, and appears that he may be finished for the afternoon.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Edgardo Alfonzo. Full count. Alfonzo, by all right, should be heading to his upcoming spot on the All-Star team. The All-Star game will be coming your way next week from Atlanta. Here's the 3-2. A leadoff walk. Keith Olbermann is bored. So he has more information for us, Keith.
No, not at all, Joe. This is a thriller. This is the bases loaded in Chicago, bottom of the 6th. Jose Valentin responding as he has twice previously this year. Clears the deck. Bases loaded triple, and that game is 7-1 in the bottom of the 7th inning. I'm not sure.
Amazing symmetry. Spooky almost. 7-1 in Chicago, 7-1 in New York. And here's Piazza, one of the big reasons why it's 7-1. You always talk about productive outs. He had a productive strikeout his first time up.
Yeah.
He advanced the runner.
Unintentional productive out. Striking out, a wild pitch. First of the year by Greg Maddux. First run scored. Dereck Bell racing home.
1 ball, 1 strike. And Piazza pounded a home run, a 2-run shot in the second. And Maddux, who had never started a ball game, allowing 7 runs, 7 hits in the first 2 innings, departed. His shortest outing since '96. 2 balls and a strike on Mike Piazza. I've been fascinated how that back leg kind of gives after the swing by Piazza.
I was thinking the same thing. To be as good a hitter as Mike is, he's more or less a flat-footed hitter. There's not the balance on the balls of the feet as there are, and as you can see on guys like Alfonso or Ventura.
He's gone as Wengert gets him. Second time Piazza struck out today. And it's 1-on-1 out. Take a look at today's 7-11 game summary. Mets 6 runs in the second inning. Agbayani and Piazza both went deep. Maddux see you after 2 innings. And Al Leiter is deserving of a win here today. 12 strikeouts and 7 strong innings. A walk, now a strikeout. Now Ventura, ball 1. Robin 0 for 2 with a walk. And there's Wendell. He'll come in and pitch in the 8th. 2-0.
Mentioned the White Sox, and Keith going to that White Sox-Red Sox game. The White Sox winning 7-1, and they have been scoring runs in bunches. And what if they had Robin Ventura now, who signed with the Mets as a free agent a couple of years ago? Longtime White Sox.
Off the end of the bat into center. Jones can't get there, and it's 2 on, 1 out. Alfonso takes third base on Andrew Jones, and it's runners at the corners, 1 away.
Well, the reason Alfonso went to third was the position Andrew Jones was in when he made the catch on 1 hop. Watch him make the play and go back. The momentum takes him into right center. So normally, if Jones were coming in on the ball, Alfonso doesn't try that arm. But since he was going back and toward right center field, Alfonso easily goes to third without a play.
So now an easier RBI chance for Zeal, who is hitless, not in on the fun today for the Mets. A couple of strikeouts, a ground out. Tailing pitch for strike 1.
It's amazing what a 10-run inning can do to a ball club when you're playing your division's competition. That 10-run inning last night just took the Mets collectively and relaxed them. Playing with a world of confidence today, and if they lose last night, you don't know if that confidence will be there.
We talked about it coming in, especially having to face Maddux, but in Maddux's defense, he wasn't even healthy enough to stay at the ballpark on Thursday with the flu, and here he is 2 days later on a warm day at Shea.
Yeah, that's not an excuse, that's a fact.
And he just didn't have his good stuff.
No.
It was atypical of Greg Maddux. But the Mets took advantage of that. And it was 7-0 after 2. It's 7-1. The 0-2. That's on the infield, and Zeal misses an RBI chance. Lockhart, 2 out. What do we have next Saturday on the Fox Game of the Week? How about the Yankees coming here to Shea Stadium to take on the Mets as their Subway Series round 2 continues next weekend. Our coverage begins. So this week in baseball at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central on Fox. Check your local listings. And then they'll go into the buses and over to Yankee Stadium. What is it, the Triborough?
Yep. And the restaurants between here and the Bronx will have the early bird specials on. It'll be about 4:30 to 5:30. A lot of people eating at the restaurants from here to the Bronx on their way to the game that night that begins at 8 o'clock. Mets and the Yankees. That'll be televised here locally on Fox 5. Both games, as a matter of fact, the one at 1 that we'll do, and the one at 8 o'clock. That thing will be packed about 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock next Saturday afternoon. Can't wait, Joe.
Payton pops it up right side. It's foul. Galarraga gives it a look. 1-1. Well, the Mets would figure to have an advantage in that day-night doubleheader, so to speak, because of the 2 separate sets of rules, because you can use a DH. You can use Piazza in your lineup as a catcher in game 1 and then put him in the lineup as a DH.
That's a good
in game
point.
2.
That's true. That's right. That way you give him the well, you don't give him the night off, but under American League rules, which the night game will be played first time since 1903 that 2 games have been played by the same 2 teams at different ballparks in this city, or in any city in Major League Baseball.
Payton takes a ball. It's 2-1. And the circumstances around that situation in 1903?
Don't know it.
No idea.
I think the Highlanders were involved in one of those games. The New York Highlanders were the forerunner of the New York Yankees. The Mets, of course, their first year, 1962.
Now it's 3-1 on Jay Payton, who singled his last time up. First World Championship for the Mets in 1969. World champions as they defeated Baltimore 4-1. 86, they came back to take care of the Red Sox. 3 balls and a strike, and now a full count. Mookie Wilson, vital in that 1986 World Championship, and is still the stolen base leader for this franchise with 281. Now the first base coach for Bobby Valentine.
He is the most popular player ever to don a Mets uniform.
3-2. That'll load him up. 2 walks in the inning. And now Benny Agbayani will bat. Matt Franco last year right here at Shea. Same Yankees, same Mets. Some of the faces and names have changed, but we will be here next week. That was the game-winning hit against, of all people, Mariano Rivera.
One of the great regular season games that either of us have seen in years.
The best game that we've ever done on Fox.
Absolutely.
Wengert gets a visit from Lunar. And that hat from just about 1 year ago, and we'll renew that rivalry next weekend right here on Fox. It's good to see that Bill Webb hasn't changed since he became a director for that video for WAR. Bases loaded, 2 out, and a strike to Agbayani. Show up next week with a beret, wearing chaps.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. No balls, 1 strike, bases loaded, 2 out, 1-1 on Agbayani.
That's where I'll be dining between games next Saturday.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Great spot.
Bases loaded, 2 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. To the left side, tricky little hop for Weiss, and the inning is over. So the Mets load them up and leave them loaded. They have now stranded 7. We've played 7. 8th inning rolls in. So will Turk Wendell eventually. 7-1 Mets. They put the 7 train back on the tracks, and Andrew Jones leads it off. He takes a strike. The story ends with Armando Benitez throwing a fastball fireball at the villains. Last page of it. There's Armando Benitez on the right, and there's evidently Tino Martinez in the middle getting drilled in the back with a fastball from Armando Benitez. 1 ball, 1 strike on Andrew Jones, and now ball 2 from Wendell, who takes over for Al Leiter. Part of a bullpen that has underachieved when you look at it, compare it to last year's standards. Andrew Jones flies to center. Jay Payton 1 away.
When you come from behind like the Mets did last year, or last night, scoring 10 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning, and you're hitting the ball and you're scoring a lot of runs, what you do is you give the bullpen a chance to resuscitate. If they've had some problems, not only gives them rest, but it gives them a chance to sit back, pitch a few games without the stress of having to do it right now with some runs as a cushion. And in that way, that perhaps could make them better for the long haul and in the last 2 months of the season when they're really needed.
Jones out in front, 0-2.
I mean, compare these two bullpens right now. I mean, the New York Mets. You compare them with the Atlanta Braves, and there's no comparison. I mean, the Braves are really struggling in their pen.
Jones fouls it back. You look at that Braves bullpen. Some of the names that fill out the list on Bobby Cox's lineup card down in the dugout. You start to get a better feel for what he's working with down in the pen right now. The 0-2. Jones grounds to first for Zeal. 2 out. You got John Rocker, who was unavailable last night, and that was a major factor in the loss for the Atlanta Braves. He's got that thumb with a callus that's split open again. Kerry Lightenberg has pitched 3 consecutive days. Mulholland started Wednesday, then relieved and lost last night. Cianez on the disabled list. He's gone for the year.
Right.
Remlinger rejoined the team, but then he had a spill. They sent him away. He fell down. He injured his elbow. They had to give him an injection of dye for the MRI, and he had an allergic reaction to the dye. So he was unavailable. Evidently could pitch today if needed. From one guy to the next. Chen, the other name on the list, pitched here today and pitched well. That's caught. Melvin Mora. He's been giving offense, and now he flashes a little leather for the Mets on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Lunging way to his right, shades of Ordonez as he takes a hit away. A 1-2-3-8 for Wendell.
Remember on Saturday Night Live when Rosanna Dana, Gilda Radner, used to talk about how to remove the fuzzball from your shoe. Well, this is the way to do it. Dive for a line drive, make the catch, and when you hit the ground, your fuzzball is removed. That was a little paper cup on the shoe of Melvin Mora, but a fine play. One of my favorite skits was Rosanna Dana.
It's always something.
Always something, Jan.
Chop to the left of Jones, a juggling act, and McEwing's on with a base hit. Or we'll wait and see. Hitter error, hitter error, hitter error. The crowd's letting Chipper hear it.
He's probably thinking, come on, I called you first class 2 days ago. I said you were a first-class crowd, and here you are booing me. A rare error on last year's most valuable player in the National League, Chipper Jones.
It is an error. Had to play it off to the side. Would have been a good play. Once he got it, he couldn't transfer it. 1 on, nobody out. Back to the top, and Mora takes the ball. Melvin a hit today, a double, a run scored. They're getting a lot of offense, a lot more offense out of the shortstop position. Surprising thing about Ordonez is he had committed 6 errors when he was healthy, going down on May 29th. A tag play at second, breaking his left forearm. He thought he was healing and he'd be back around the All-Star break. He wasn't healing properly, and they had to insert a plate in there, and he's out for the season. They took care of that procedure last Monday, and he is out for the year. 2 balls and a strike on Mora. And they go to right, 2-2. Tomorrow's starter for the Mets. Guy who made this team out of spring training was sent to the minor leagues just to stay active while they didn't have a use for a 5th starter. But Glendon Rush has been one of their best. As far as consistency, right behind Al Leiter in the Mets rotation. Still 2-2. Mike Hampton had gotten on a little bit of a roll, but last night ended up going 7, allowing 5 runs and walking 6. So he took a step backward. One was one of his bigger starts to date in the Mets uniform. That's foul on the left side. Bobby Jones will work in the next series, which will be for the Mets against the Marlins. And it's back to New York for the series with the Yankees, and then it's All-Star break time.
Bobby Jones just looking for some arm strength. Saw him earlier against the New York Yankees, performing in a Saturday game that we did the last time the Mets and the Yankees met at Yankee Stadium. Bobby lasting only 4 2/3 innings in that game.
Mora's gone, throw down, and McEwing gets back in time. Sunday, July 9th, the NTRA Champion Series on Fox continues with the Sempra Energy Hollywood Gold Cup as General Challenge leads the list of the nation's best thoroughbreds into Hollywood Park. The winner is one step closer to $1 million. Coverage begins Sunday, July 9th, live at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on Fox. 1 on, 1 out for Dereck Bell, who's 3 out of 4. And hits one into deep right center field. Back at the track at the wall. Home run. Bell, his 4th hit of the day. Started the inning. Payton struck out, and Dereck Bell hits his 10th as a New York Met. Strike 1 to Alfonso. A mock tomahawk chop from the fans here at Shea.
3 weeks ago, Dereck Bell could not find his way to the plate. He was in a free fall. You mentioned it and explained it very well earlier, Joe. Red hot start for the first 6 weeks. Then for 4 weeks, just horrible. And the last 3 weeks, he's picked it up again at a torrid pace with 4 hits today. A 2-run home run, his 10th of the year. 4 RBIs today, 4 hits, 2 doubles, a home run, and a single. Man.
He was hitting 360 to the 21st of May, and then the free fall hit. Pop up on the right side off the bat of Alfonso. Dereck Bell went through a stretch where he was 4 out of 59.
I mean, it's amazing.
And now he's on the way back, and he's always said he wants to hit high in the lineup. He loves that number 2 spot. Today's Napa Auto Parts home run update. McGuire hit number 29 last night. Bonds has 28. Delgado, Sheffield, and Griffey on that list of the top home run hitters in the game. Ball 1 to Piazza. His final at bat of the day. Has only 1 hit, but it was loud. A 2-run blast back in the second. That's foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Todd Pratt, it appears, will go out and catch in the top of the 9th. Trying to get whatever rest they can for the body of Mike Piazza. 2-1. Saw that sign earlier, MVP. I don't know of a more valuable player on any team right now in the game than Piazza is to this Mets club, who closing in on their 46th win of the year.
Mark McGwire comes to mind as a guy as valuable to the Cardinals, perhaps, as Piazza is to the Mets, but he's not a catcher. I think any tie would go to Piazza because of the position he plays.
A "We want Rocker" chant now from this crowd, but they don't figure to get him.
Mike finished second in the MVP voting in 1996. He was with the Dodgers.
The 2-2. Oh, goodness. Shattered bat. The ground ball to the shortstop Weiss, and everybody is okay. Thank goodness. The shattered bat ended up in the seats. Everybody all right. Piazza's finished for the day. Do something in the course of a 162-game season, but we said it earlier, we'll say it again as Jordan goes after the first pitch here in the 9th inning. 1 out. These Mets may be looking back at that 8th inning, and not just for what they've done against the Braves here the last 2 games, but what it might do for them over the next few weeks. Todd Pratt takes over at catcher, and the other guy, Mike Piazza's had a nice couple of days.
Yeah, you think about the circumstances going into that game last night. The Braves had won on Thursday. They won with John Burkett starting, and you know you're going to get Greg Maddux on Saturday. No easy chore ever, even though it proved to be today. So if they don't win last night, you enter Saturday's play facing Maddux, having lost 2 in a row to the Braves, a team you lost 9 of 12 to the previous year. Certainly hypothetical what would happen today, but the Mets have fed today off of what happened in the 8th inning last night. I don't think there's any question about that.
So if the Mets hang on, and it appears they will, up by 8 in the 9th inning, these 2 teams will be even on the loss side. The Mets will be a game out with a chance to send the Braves out of LaGuardia, tied atop the NL East tomorrow. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Bonilla.
The next time these 2 teams meet, July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in Atlanta.
We will be there in Atlanta. Bonilla still 3-2.
So that game on the 22nd.
Coming into last night's game, the Mets had lost to the Braves 19 times, 25 games over the past couple of seasons. But all they're thinking about right now is 2-0. And that is last night's game, today's game, with a chance to take 3 of 4 from the Braves tomorrow. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and with 1 out, Wendell starts and stops. Gone. And again, you can certainly fall into a trap as the Mets are playing only their 78th game of the season, but a couple of big games. Our American General play of the game, Mike Piazza tees off in the 2nd. His 23rd home run of the season. We only saw Greg Maddux on the mound for 2 innings here today, and Piazza a big reason why. And 6-run 2nd inning. Weiss pops it up, can in large part be traced back to a 2-out hit by Al Leiter, who did everything today. And the Mets have won it 9-1. Leiter the winner, 10-1. The Mets are 14-2 in games he has started this season. Maddux now 9-3. 1 game separates these 2 teams in the NL East. We'll take a break and come back and wrap it up in a moment.
Of citizens immediately began working with Mayor Robert Wagner to bring National League Baseball back to New York. Their efforts were rewarded with an expansion franchise in 1962. Intended to be a team of the people, fans got to vote on the club's name. And popular sports cartoonist Ray Gatto designed the now famous circular logo. Lovable baseball legend Casey Stengel signed on as the Mets' first manager, and even the team colors paid homage to the city's baseball roots, blue from the old Brooklyn Dodgers and orange from the New York Giants. Although the 62 Mets lost 120 games, they succeeded in capturing the heart of the city. Even today, fans consider the return of National League Baseball as the number 10 moment in Mets history.
Over the past 39 years, they have broadcast a combined total of more than 10,000 games. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome two original New York Mets, Ralph Kiner, Bob Murphy, Hall of Famers. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the players from that inaugural season. A catcher who began his career with the Brooklyn Dodgers and ended it with the 62 Mets, Joe Pignatano. He struck out 561 batters in 5+ seasons with the Mets. The current pitching coach, Al Jackson. And the man who led the 62 teams with 34 home runs, outfielder Frank Thomas. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll take a look at the Diamond Vision, moment number 9.
The 1999 Mets rode a tidal wave of emotion into October. After a one-game wild-card playoff in Cincinnati, the Mets faced the Arizona Diamondbacks in the National League Division Series. In the fourth and deciding game, the two clubs battled each other into extra innings. Then, in the bottom of the 10th, backup catcher Todd Pratt stepped to the plate to face Matt Manti.
Oh, that's hit well to center field. Finley goes back. It's over! It's over! Todd Pratt, one of the most unlikely heroes, has hit it to dead center field. The Mets have won it in 10, 4-3.
That swing of the bat cemented Todd Pratt's place in New York sports lore and ranks as the number 9 moment in Mets history.
Just the 4th player in history to end a postseason with a series home run. Welcome, Todd Pratt. It was May 1998. The Mets were poised to make one of the biggest trades in franchise history. Moment number 8 features the acquisition of one of the game's greatest sluggers.
The Mets franchise has enjoyed more than its share of outstanding catchers over the years. Impact players like Grody, Stearns, Carter, and Hundley. But in May of 1998, the New York Mets truly caught lightning in a bottle. He is one of the greatest offensive catchers the game has ever seen. A member of the All-Star team in each of his 8 Major League seasons. His name is Mike Piazza, and his acquisition was chosen by the fans as the number 8 moment in Mets history.
In just one full season, he has set or tied Mets season records for homers, grand slams, and RBIs. The first big leaguer in 78 years to drive in a run in 15 straight games, Mike Piazza. Sometimes the race doesn't go to the swiftest or the strongest, but to the team that perseveres. Mets moment number 7 proves it's never really over till it's over.
The catalyst of the Mets' 1973 National League champion team was Tug McGraw, a charismatic left-hander who provided great relief pitching and comic relief as well. During some mid-season struggles, club chairman M. Donald Grant gave an inspirational clubhouse speech, urging the players to believe in their ability to win. McGraw took the cue, yelling to his teammates, "He's right, you gotta believe." The episode sparked an amazing turnaround as the last place Mets vaulted over their NL East rivals in the final month to make the playoffs.
The New York Mets have won the pennant, and this is a wild scene.
Although New York fell a win short of upsetting Oakland in the World Series, the season that inspired that famous rallying cry is the number 7 moment in Mets history.
In 1973, this red-headed outfielder became the first player in club history to drive in 100 runs. One of the most popular Mets of all time. The Grand Orange, Rusty Stubb. No one ever choked up on a bat more than our next guest, the first Met to play 162 games in a season. Second baseman, Felix Millan. A 9-year member of the Mets and a world champion with both New York and Philadelphia, the man who made you believe, Tug McGraw. Even amongst greats, legends, and Hall of Famers, there comes a time when even they must look up, and when this man is present, that's what happens. He graced the field with over 3,000 hits, 660 homers, 1,900 career RBIs. This Hall of Famer finished his brilliant career in the same city where it started. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest players ever to don a uniform, say hey, Willie Mays. The number 6 moment in Mets history involves the pursuit of perfection.
It is the rarest of all baseball accomplishments. In over a century, there have been only 16 perfect games. On July 9th, 1969, in front of 59,000 electrified fans, Tom Seaver took a perfect game into the 9th inning, stifling the division-leading Cubs. After retiring his 25th consecutive batter, Seaver faced Jimmy Qualls, a relative newcomer who was appearing in just his 18th Major League game. Unfortunately for the Mets, Qualls connected for a solid single to spoil the perfect game. But to this day, Tom Terrific considers that game to be the greatest he ever pitched. Mets fans agree, naming it the number 6 all-time moment in Mets history.
He is known as the franchise, holds practically every Mets pitching record, the Hall of Famer and my broadcast partner, Tom Seaver. If pitching and defense are the keys to success, then the Mets outfielders might have been credited with a win or two during the '69 World Series. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 5 moment in Mets history.
Three of the most memorable defensive plays in Mets history were made in the Shea Stadium outfield during the 1969 World Series. In Game 3, Elrod Hendricks drove a pitch deep to left center field. Tommy Agee raced into the gap and made a spectacular backhanded catch at the wall. Later that same game, Agee made another incredible catch on this bases-loaded drive by Paul Blair. In Game 4, the Mets outfield stole the show once again. Trailing by a run in the 9th, the Orioles' Brooks Robinson hit this line drive with 2 men aboard. But out of nowhere came Ron Swoboda with a brilliant somersault catch. The Mets went on to win the game in the 10th for a commanding 3-1 series lead. And the 3 amazing catches are remembered by Mets fans as the number 5 moment in Mets history.
His 26 homers in 1969 were a career high. A 2-time Gold Glover who made those spectacular World Series catches, Tommy Agee. He hit 400 in the '69 series, but will be forever remembered for that stunning catch you just saw made in right field. The man they call Rocky, Ron Swoboda. If the mark of a good team is its ability to rise to a challenge, the team involved in moment number 4 was a very good team indeed.
The 1986 Mets barnstormed their way through the regular season with a franchise record 108 wins. But they faced a serious challenge in the playoffs in a dramatic series with the Western Division champion Houston Astros. 3 times, the Mets were forced to win in their final turn at bat. In the 3rd game, New York was trailing 5-4 in the 9th when Wally Backman got things going with a bunt single. That set the table for Lenny Dykstra.
And a high fly ball hits the right field. It is fairly deep. It's way back by the wall. He did it! It's a home run! A home run! The Mets win the ball game!
Game 6 in Houston was an epic battle that epitomized both teams' grit and determination. Trailing by 3 in the 9th, the Mets came back to tie the game, and the deadlock lasted until the top of the 14th. Wally Backman's RBI single gave New York a brief 4-3 lead. But the Astros quickly answered with a home run that evened the score once again. The Mets retook the lead with 3 runs in the 16th. In the bottom of the inning, the Astros got as close as 7-6 before Jesse Orosco struck out Kevin Bass to clinch the league championship.
Struck him out! And the New York Mets have won the 1986 National League pennant.
It's obvious to all who watched it why Mets fans rate the electrifying, hard-fought series as the number 4 moment in club history.
Ladies and gentlemen, the architect of that championship team, general manager of the New York Mets, champion World Series '86 style, Frank Cashin. Now let's meet some of the '86 New York Mets. Sid Fernandez. He was the first Met to hit 30 homers and steal 30 bases in the same season. 1991, he became the first switch hitter to lead the National League in RBIs. Second to win the home run crown, Hojo Howard Johnson. His 14 wins in relief set a club record, and his 5 scoreless innings in Game 6 of the NLCS, a pivotal part of Mets history. A great player and the great hot footer of all time, Roger McDowell. Acquired prior to the '86 season, the left-handed pitcher led the league with an 18-5 record and racked up a critical postseason victories, Bobby Ojeda. Maybe not one of the biggest names in the Mets media when it came to the '86 champions. This steady shortstop was a championship shortstop when needed, and he did it all year. Please welcome Rafael Santana. A clutch performer whose game-winning grand slam against the Phillies helped the Mets pull away from the pack. Second baseman Tim Tuffle. He homered in his first major league game and provided timely hitting all season long. A player who was tough as his nickname, Nails, Lenny Dykstra. One of the most popular Mets ever to take the field at Shea. He holds the club records for triples, stolen bases, revered for his unparalleled hustle. Current Mets coach, fan favorite, Mookie Wilson. One of the strangest footnotes in baseball history happened right here just 9 months ago. Here is the number 3 moment in Mets history.
Things looked bleak for the Mets when the Atlanta Braves took the first 3 games of the 1999 NLCS. No team in the history of the game had ever overcome such a deficit. But the Mets were determined to battle back and stayed alive with a late-inning victory in Game 4. Game 5 was a classic. Tied at 2 in the 4th, the Mets and Braves held each other scoreless for the next 10 innings. Atlanta took a lead in the top of the 15th, but New York rallied once again. Todd Pratt's bases-loaded walk tied the game at 3, and that brought Robin Ventura to the plate with the bases loaded.
The drive in the air to deep right field. That ball headed toward the wall. That ball is out of here! Out of here! A game-winning grand slam home run off the bat of Robin Ventura.
Robin was mobbed by his teammates after rounding first, preventing him from completing his trip around the bases. The official scorer was forced to rule the game-winning hit a single, indelibly etching it in our memories as the biggest single in club history, and the Mets' number 3 moment of all time.
Please welcome the man who got the grand single, Robin Ventura. The season that prompted the nickname Miracle Mets is the number 2 moment in our countdown.
It was the year man set foot on the moon. Woodstock and Vietnam were in the news, and one of the great sports stories of the century was unfolding in Queens as the 1969 Mets put together the first winning season in franchise history. In September, New York overtook the first-place Cubs to clinch the division. Next, they swept the Braves in the first-ever National League Championship Series. And despite the experts' prediction that they had no chance of beating Baltimore, the Miracle Mets shocked the world by grounding the Orioles in 5 games.
The 2-1 pitch. There's a fly ball hit out to left. Waiting is Jones. The Mets are the world champions. Gary Koosman being mobbed.
The storybook season of 1969 is the number 2 moment in Mets history.
One of the most respected and beloved men in the history of New York sports was a former Brooklyn Dodger and manager of the unforgettable '69 team. His name is revered by all who knew him, especially those here at Shea. Please welcome the wife of the late, great Gil Hodges, Mrs. Joan Hodges. You've already met Tommy Agee, Tom Seaver, Ron Swoboda. Now let's meet some of our '69 Mets. Capped off his career with a World Championship ring as a Met. Ladies and gentlemen, third baseman, Ed Charles. For 12 years, this brilliant defensive catcher guided and groomed some of the greatest pitchers of this generation. 2-time All-Star, Jerry Grody. Another Mets All-Star, he served as the club shortstop for 13 seasons. Please welcome Gold Glove winner, Bud Harrelson. The hitting star of the magical Mets season finished 3rd in the league with a .340 batting average. Also made the final catch of the '69 series. Left fielder, Cleon Jones. He still holds the club records for most seasons. Games played, hits, doubles, total bases. Bronx native, Ed Kranepool. Only Tom Seaver had more complete games, shutouts, and innings pitched. Still among the leaders in every franchise pitching category, and the winner of the deciding game of the '69 World Series, Jerry Koosman. This first baseman homered in 3 of the club's 4 World Series victories. For his efforts, he was named the Series MVP. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Clendenin. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention again to the Diamond Vision for the greatest moments in Mets history as chosen by you, the fans.
After outlasting the Astros in the NLCS, the '86 Mets advanced to a World Series matchup with the Boston Red Sox. The American League champs took games 1 and 2 at Shea, forcing New York into a must-win situation at Fenway Park. And for their 3rd consecutive World Series, the Mets leadoff hitter opened Game 3 with a homer. Len Dykstra's blast sparked a 7-1 Mets victory. When the series shifted back to Shea for Game 6, the Red Sox were just a win away from the title. Boston broke a 3-3 tie with 2 runs in the 10th, but New York narrowed the gap with singles by Gary Carter, Kevin Mitchell, and Series MVP Ray Knight. Then, with 2 outs and Mookie Wilson at the plate, reliever Bob Stanley unleashed a wild pitch that tied the game. After fouling off 2 more pitches, Mookie connected for the most famous dribbler in Mets history.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
The Mets rode their newfound momentum into Game 7, coming back from an early 3-0 deficit to lead by a score of 8-5. With 2 out in the 9th, Jesse Orosco faced Marty Barrett.
He struck him out! Struck him out! The Mets have won the World Series! And they're jamming and crowding all over Jesse Orosco. The dream has come true.
By an overwhelming majority, fans named the spectacular 1986 World Championship as the greatest moment in Mets history.
Ladies and gentlemen, together again, the 1986 World Champion New York Mets. Since everybody has been standing for a while and there are chairs, feel free to be seated for a moment. We'll put our 86 Mets back in their chairs. That's an order. I would like to turn the microphone over to the man who you have already met to say a few words on behalf of the players who have been honored here today. My broadcast partner, Tom Seaver. Tom.
I think without a doubt there is no expansion franchise which has the history which sits out in front of you today. A couple of world championships, great players, and a wonderful group of individuals that came here today to share this piece of history with us. From all of us up here, we thank you that are in the ballpark today, and those of you who voted for whatever your favorite was. God bless you all, and have a great game.
Very special day at Shea Stadium. We at the WB11 proud to be a part of it. You've been watching the 10 greatest moments in Mets history as brought to you by Chase. Coming more.
this scene. Mets have won the pennant. The New York Mets have won the pennant, and this is a wild scene. Fans are pouring out onto the field.
The 10th inning, and the Mets welcome to New York, Gary Carter.
A home run! The Mets win the ball game. Lynn Dykstra hit a home run. This ball game is over.
New York Mets have won the 1986 National League pennant.
And a ground ball quickly. It is a fair ball. Picked by Buckner. Rounding third base. The Mets will win the ball game. The Mets win. The Mets have won the World Series. The dream has come true.
The National League Eastern Division crown, the second time in 3 years.
Ties a National League record for strikeouts in a game. 19 by David Cohn, tying Tom Seaver and Steve Carroll.
A gunner and a record-setting home run for Hundley. Passing Roy Campanella. The home run number
400 saves for John Franco.
One of the most unlikely heroes has hit it today. Game-winning grand slam home run off the bat of Robin Bates.
I think the best way is just right now here fishing. You know, we just came from a long road trip. We've been traveling the first 2 months, as you know, all over the place. And just to relax and really catch up and take your time off where you can really forget a little bit about baseball and come out and relax. I think fishing is one of the best sports there is in the world. I come from an island, you know, I come from Cuba, as you well know. So since I was little, my father used to take me out fishing all the time. And we went out and spent the time together, you know, shot together as friends. And the father would advise, of course. And ever since then, I've been doing the same, you know, with my kids. And then now with my grandchildren, take them out and fishing. And it's very enjoyable.
This is the life. This is what we're going after right here.
You got to be, you know, talking to them quietly, you know what I mean? Give them a chance to see the bait. Let them come to you. Let them bite a little bit. You know, don't try to really jerk the pole now. Just let them eat a little bit. Let them get feet. And then you hook them.
Anything here? How many?
You have to once in a while give them a hit and run, you know what I mean? So they grab that hook and they score, you know what I mean? They come around thinking that they're going to go around home plate. No, but they're out at third base because you and I got them. See, they're biting right there. See, you let them bite, bite. We got it. Here it is right there, guys. Oh, God. Look at that guy. Jesus. Right, it's right there, baby. There it is. There it is. The biggie. All right, here we go. How about that, huh? How about that, Joe? Look at this, huh? Flounder. Let's see, how many inches?
15 inches and a half.
15 inches and a half.
So we start with 0.
You got 15 and a half with the nose.
We got to close the mouth, though.
No, it's short.
Short?
Oh, boy.
By a nose?
By a nose.
Oh, my God. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
As a child growing up in Cuba, Cookie couldn't have imagined fishing the serene waters of Long Island. As a teenager, he decided to leave his home to pursue his dream of playing baseball professionally, since Cuba did not allow professionalism of any sort.
I made the decision because I wanted to play professional baseball. I wanted to stay here and take a chance on my career. And at the same time, I thought that I could help my family more by being here than by staying back there, which I did. I took 28 of my relatives out of Cuba to different countries. They're all here, you know, and we had an opportunity to be successful thanks to the democracy there is in this country. I don't want to be in a communist country. I don't want to be in a place where I can't speak like I'm speaking to you right now with a camera and be free. I think every human being has that right, and that's the reason why I did that.
Reaching the majors in 1962 and spending nearly 40 years in the big leagues as a player, manager, and coach, we asked Cookie how much longer he'll stay in the game.
There is spring, there is summer, there is fall, and there is winter. And I'm starting to get a little winter in my head, you know? So to say that there's going to be a storm in the winter, I don't know. It depends how healthy you are, and if you stay in the same condition all the time, there's some days that you're going to have to think about retirement someday in the future. I don't know whether it's going to be this year or next year, but pretty soon I'm going to have to make a decision.